The Outer Worlds 2 is Obsidian's follow-up to the space RPG from 2019. It's basically a first-person shooter mixed with role-playing, and what makes it worth paying attention to is that it refines a lot of what the first game did, with better combat, more build options, and higher production values. You are essentially playing as an Earth Directorate agent sent to investigate dangerous rifts, tearing apart the colony Arcadia, where 3 factions fight for control. The game has strong points, but may click with some players and leave others feeling disconnected. So you create your character and pick a background, traits and skills. The game's skill system lets you go heavy into combat with ranged or melee damage, or take the sneaky route with lockpicking and stealth. You can also invest in speech to talk your way out of problems, or leadership to make your companions stronger. The traits in this game are actually pretty creative. You can choose to be brilliant for extra experience points, or there's the opposite called dumb, where your character is so stupid that you get completely different dialogue options and can solve puzzles in ridiculous ways. There's even a trait called bad knees, where you move faster when crouching, but each time you stand up your knees crack loudly and alert enemies. It's funny and more importantly also changes how you approach situations. There's also a reputation system where factions remember your actions. Their companions are generally a big part of the game, but also where there's some missed potential. You recruit different people who join your crew, and they each have their own personalities, skills and personal goals. You can help them with their problems or ignore them completely. They are pretty useful in combat too, since different companions work better against certain enemy types. So you end up switching them around depending on what you're fighting. That said, I find the companions lack that spark that usually make characters memorable. There's not that much to discover or uncover as you spend time with them. The game's story puts you in the middle of this war on Arcadia. The Protectorate runs things and says they're keeping order, but there's a religious group rebelling against them. And on top of that, various corporations are invading to grab power. So your choices about who to trust and who to work with affect how things turn out. You can be diplomatic, violent, sneaky, or completely chaotic. Now, thankfully, the combat has improved a lot from the first game. The weapons feel better to use. The hit detection is more accurate, and there's a good amount of weapon customization. You can modify your gear with different attachments, though keep in mind that you can't craft weapons from scratch. The game often gives you different ways to handle fights depending on your build. Stealth works well if you invest in it, but if you mess up, enemies hit hard. The game world is split into different zones across the Arcadia colony. You explore cities, industrial areas, various alien landscapes, and stuff like broken space stations. Now the game seems to somewhat divide people after the opening hours. Some players get invested and sink all those hours into it happily. Meanwhile, other players hit the wall around the 3-hour mark, where everything starts feeling hollow and it loses momentum, because when you're not connecting with the companions and the story isn't hooking you, then the whole thing can feel like you're just going through the motions without any real pull to keep playing. It's not that the game is broken or badly made, it simply may not click for everyone as much as they had hoped, and when it doesn't, it becomes pretty obvious pretty fast, and unfortunately a bit too late to still get a refund, since you will likely realize this after the 2-hour window. Now the game's side quests give you more to do beyond the main story, and they are fairly good actually. You're gonna run into weird situations, help various factions, and make choices that actually have consequences later. The writing tries to be witty and absurd, while keeping some actual stakes in the mix. Some of the missions are straightforward fetch quests, others get more involved with multiple solutions. Now another thing that I sadly dislike is that exploring off the main path doesn't reward you as much as you'd expect. There are not a lot of hidden items or secrets that are tucked away in random corners. Most of what you find is tied directly to quests rather than stumbling on cool stuff by accident. I think meaningful exploration is one of the most important aspects in these games, so it does kinda surprise me how often developers miss the mark here. So essentially I'd say if you like the first game or want a decent space RPG with actual role-playing options, then this game mostly delivers that if you can get into the story. But for me it's a prime example of a game that I would buy on a sale. It's a game that either grabs you or it doesn't, and if it doesn't, then the cracks start showing pretty fast. And that sentence concludes today's video. If your time was respected, a like or comment is very much appreciated.